In this video, I will show you how to use a matrix to solve a real-world problem. So let's read through. Monica decided to divide a total of $42,000 into 3 investments: a savings account paying 5% interest, a time deposit paying 7%, and a bond paying 9%. Her total annual interest from the 3 investments was $2,600, and the investment from the savings account was $200 less than the total interest from the other 2 investments. How much did she invest at each rate? Focus carefully on that last sentence, because whatever they're asking you to find, that tells you what your variables need to be. So, how much did she invest at each rate? So the first thing we must do is define our variables. I'll just use x, y, and z. So we'll let x be the amount invested at 5%. I'm going to let y be the amount invested at 7%. And I will let z represent the amount invested at, what was it? 9%. Okay, the amount invested at 9%. Okay, so now we need to write some equations. We're going to have 2 money equations. We can write one equation for the amount of money earned. Okay, so we'll have one equation for the amount of money earned. We'll have another equation for the amount of money invested. Okay, and then we'll have a random third equation. We'll call it rando. Now, let's start with money earned. So look at these numbers up here. I see all these numbers and I have to sort it out. Monica divided a total of $42,000 into 3 investments. Now, that $42,000, is that going to be an amount invested or an amount earned? Let's see. Earned or invested for the $42,000? What do you think, guys? Okay, let's see. Is this money that she's getting paid, or is it money that she already has? This is money that she already has. She has this money and she's dividing it into these 3 accounts. So this is not money earned. It's money she already has. It's the money that she's going to invest. So this $42,000 will end up at the end of the second equation, all right? Because that's the money that she's investing, money that she already has. So we'll come back to that later. I'm just trying to get you guys to see how to separate these into the different equations. Okay, so, all right. 5% interest. 5% is 0.05 times something. So the amount of money that she's going to earn from the 5% account is going to be 0.05 by the amount that she invested at 5%. Similarly, the amount that she's going to earn from the 7% account will be 0.07 times the amount of money she invested in that account. And the amount of money she will earn from the 9% account will be 0.09 times the amount of money that she invested in that particular account. So do you guys understand so far? This should represent the amount of money earned in each account. Okay, so now I'm looking for the total amount of money earned, which we already agreed is not the $42,000. So what's the total amount of money earned? $2,600. That's the $2,600. All right, it says her total annual interest. All right, interest. That's the amount that she's earning, is $2,600. So that's why that number goes here. Okay, now as far as money invested, we'll look back at our variables. X is the amount invested in one account. Y is the amount invested in another account. Z is the amount of money invested in a third account. So if I simply add up those three numbers, X plus Y plus Z, that should equal the total amount of money that she invested. And that, we already spoke about that. That should be the $42,000 because that's the total amount she invested. So now that I'm breaking it down for you guys, do you understand why the 2,600 goes in the money earned equation and the 42,000 goes in the money invested equation? Because that's probably one of the most common mistakes, is switching those two. Okay? And then we have one random equation. All right, I'm going to do this off to the side. A lot of students are going to do this wrong. So let me show you a way that you can think about it to help you. The random equation says, let me find it. Okay. The random equation is going to come from this sentence right here. The interest from the savings account was $200 less than the total interest from the other two investments. Now be really, really careful of one thing. They're talking about the interest from the savings account. So we're not talking about the amount invested. By the way, the savings account, that's X because that's the one that's at 5%. But we won't just say X equals, because that would be the amount invested. If we want the interest from the savings account, we need to do 0.05 times X. So watch out for that, but we'll come back to that in a moment. Now, I've rewritten that sentence in a way that will make it easier for us to compare these two quantities. The savings interest is $200 less than the total interest from the other two accounts. Now, I'm working towards forming this into an equation, and I'm not finished with this version yet because I haven't done anything with the 200 yet. I want to convert these words into a mathematical expression. So the savings interest, of course, does not equal the other two. It is $200 less. So when you build an equation, the left side has to equal the right side. So what am I going to do with this 200 to make these two sides of the equation equal each other? Now, a common mistake would be, $200 less, then it must be minus 200. All right, that's wrong. That would be incorrect. Think about it. Right now, these two are not equal because the savings interest is less. Okay, this is too small. So you're not going to take something that is already too small and make it equal the other side by subtracting even more from it. You need to do the opposite. If the savings interest is less than the other two, if you want this side of the equation to be equal, you actually need to add 200, all right? You need to add 200 to the smaller one to equal the larger one. So the savings amount is 200 less. So if we give it 200 more, it should now be equal to the other. Now we can put the variables in. So remember that the savings account was X because the savings account is the one where we invested at 5% interest, and that was X. Okay, so as I convert this all the way over to an equation, I will say 5% times the amount that we invested in the 5% account plus 200, that looks like zoo, all right, 200, is equal to the total interest from the other two accounts. And again, I'm not just going to do y plus z because this is not interest. this is the amount invested in each one of these accounts. Okay, now the interest is going to be 7% for this account and 9% of the amount we invested in the third account, 7% and 9%. All right, so if we want the interest, you have to go ahead and take the percentage by multiplying with these decimals. Okay, so this is now a valid equation. The savings interest plus $200 should equal the total amount of interest from the other two accounts. Now, of course, to add this to my system of equations, I need to rewrite this in standard form. So I need to subtract 0.07y from both sides and subtract 0.09z from both sides. Okay, so that would give me 0.05x minus 0.07y minus 0.09z plus 200 is equal to 0. And then we subtract 200 from both sides. So now I'm going to go ahead and 200. Now I'm going to go ahead and write the final equation in its proper place. So 0.05x minus 0.07y minus 0.09z is equal to, and this is going to be negative 200. So now we can go ahead and build our matrix equation. So looking at the coefficients on the left-hand side, we can build a matrix equation by doing 0.05 and 0.07 and 0.09. That's the first row. And then looking at the second equation, the coefficients are 1, 1, 1. And looking at the third row, the coefficients are 0.05, negative 0.07, and negative 0.09. So this is my coefficient matrix. So I'm going to call it C. Next, I put the variable matrix. Our variables are x, y, z. And I will call this matrix V for a variable matrix. And on the right-hand side, we put the answer matrix. 2,600, 42,000, and negative 200. And we will call this matrix A for answer matrix. Since matrix C times V equals matrix A, then matrix V should equal C inverse times matrix A. So we just need to put matrix C and matrix A into our calculator. So go to the matrix area, edit, choose matrix C, and just type in the numbers. And then go back, always quit out of a matrix. Go back to the matrix area, choose matrix A. Whoops, I meant to do edit. Go back to the matrix area, go to the edit menu, choose matrix A. All right, it's a 3x1 matrix, and we're typing in these numbers right here, and I've already done that. Okay, quit out of this. And finally, we need C inverse A on our calculator screen. So I will go back to the matrix area. Under names, I'll just choose matrix C. Click the -1 to make it C inverse. Go back to the matrix area, stay under names, choose A. So I have C inverse A. If I hit enter, it's going to give me the answers. So 24,000 11,000, and 7,000. Okay, and because of the way our variable matrix was set up, understand that the top number is x, the middle number is y, and the bottom number is z. But now we need to write this in a sentence. So she invested $24,000 at 5%, she invested $11,000 at 7%, and she invested $7,000 at 9%.
On the outside, always looking in, will I ever be more than I've always been? 'Cause I'm tapping on the glass, waving through a window. Can anybody see? Is anybody waving?